How is it that NXT is the only wrestling show that's managed to not lose hundreds of thousands of viewers this year? I think it's because it's the only wrestling show that progresses storylines every week, and they have great matches, and they have interesting characters with stated motivations and goals. So much happens on these shows that even if something isn't for you, like for example, I didn't care for the Josh Briggs and Matt Striker match, there will be something else that catches your eye. If you are really a wrestling fan and you're going in with a positive mindset, there's no reason why you wouldn't enjoy NXT. And tonight was no exception. The show starts with a recap of the showdown or invasion from last week, which I enjoyed this concept. Now, I am kind of a mark for invasion storylines, I will admit. I started watching wrestling in 2001, really with the WCW invasion, and I really thought that WWE would go out of business if they lost. So this brought back a bit of nostalgia. And that's not just me saying it, that's the Nielsen ratings saying it. They doubled AEW in the ratings last week, which AEW has all of the problems that WWE has, but none of the stars and none of the emotional connection to the past that would keep people coming back to the product, even if it's awful. So I don't think AEW will be in existence in 5 years, but that's neither here nor there. So the show starts out. We have wrestlers coming into the arena, and there's going to be a battle royal to determine the number one contender for the women's NXT championship. Ricky Saints comes out. The crowd goes dead quiet. Now, I'm still trying to figure out how he even got a championship match in the first place. Because when he joined the company, he feuded with Ethan Page. He lost that feud. Then he started a random feud with Jasper Troy, and he lost to Jasper Troy. Then he beat Jasper Troy, and then he just asked Obafemi for a title shot. He got it, and then he hit 3 DDTs on Obafemi, and now he's the champion. So it pays to have friends that are Cody Rhodes. Also, the Ricky Saints character isn't really a wrestling character. It's more of a performance art theater kid type of character. It's a less masculine version of Seth Rollins. Ricky Saints says that he'll never get tired of carrying the brand and that Trick Williams folds under pressure. But in the defense of Trick Williams, the match last week was for nothing. So why did any of the wrestlers participate in the invasion? I mean, TNA is a subordinate company to WWE. They are legally in a partnership with them, that they're inherently the inferior product. I don't know what was to gain from winning or losing the match. Nothing changed. Anyway, Ricky Saints challenges Trick Williams to a match for the NXT Championship at Halloween Havoc. Trick Williams appears on the Videotron and says that he looks better than Ricky Saints and that he will fight Ricky Saints, but he's going to do it on his time. So I guess he doesn't want the NXT Championship match at Halloween Havoc. I'm kind of confused. Anyway, that was the end of the pre-recorded video message from Trick Williams. And Ricky Saints says that he wants to fight Trick Williams. And that's the end of the segment. Ricky Saints sucks. This segment could have been an email. And in the case of Trick Williams, it was a pre-recorded video. Next, we have Leon Slater and Javon Evans talking backstage about their match at Bound for Glory, which I was going to watch and review Bound for Glory, but I couldn't find a pirate ship, and so I don't know what happened. But apparently Trick Williams lost the championship at Bound for Glory, but they didn't really mention this in the previous segment. But anyway, the Hardy Boys join Javon Evans and Leon Slater, and the Hardys say that they're going to get revenge on Dark State. I mean, the Hardys are incredible. Javon Evans is incredible. The state of North Carolina is incredible. I really do believe that people in the South are carrying this industry. It wouldn't surprise me if Southerners are like half of the viewers at this point, which North Carolina would obviously be a big percentage of it. I would love to see Javon Evans and the Hardys in some type of North Carolina supremacy angle. After the commercial break, we got an anonymous spy spying on the women's locker room, which, given the history of this company, I'm not sure if that's an angle that they really want to be running with. But nonetheless, Jordan Grace is having a conversation with Kalani Jordan, also known as the functional Selena Vega. And Kalani Jordan accuses Jordan Grace of not calling the match fair last week, as if the outcome of the match mattered. And she also says that Jordan Grace is jealous of her because she is the new Knockouts champion. This is delusional because Jordan Grace left TNA to go to NXT because NXT is presented as being a more valuable brand, and therefore the NXT championship is what she is after. So why would she care that Kalani Jordan is the Knockouts champion? But I think the bigger story here is the anonymous camera that is spying on the women's locker room. Because presumably that camera was on when they got to the arena, and changed into their gear and whatnot. And also, you would assume that they would watch the show back. Like Blake Monroe would probably watch the show again to see, how she looked, how she came across on TV. So the wrestlers are going to know that there's an anonymous camera in the locker room next week. So I'm expecting there to be a continuation of that. I'm expecting Jordan Grace to go to Ava and be like, hey, there's somebody recording in our locker room. Next, we have Matt Cardona versus Josh Briggs. Now, Matt Cardona is relevant to my if you're approaching 40 rant, you should retire. Listen, this guy was a mid-card jobber 15 years ago. It's over. Hang it up. We don't want to see it on TV anymore. I watch NXT to get away from 40-year-olds that were past their prime 10, 15 years ago. So please stop invading it. I will say that Matt Cardona looked good in the match. He moves very well. He's obviously a very good wrestler, but that doesn't mean anything. He's been on TV for 15 years now, probably longer than that. Hang it up. We don't want to see it. Listen, if people wanted to see Matt Cardona on TV, they wouldn't have lost millions of viewers from when he first debuted in WWE. It's that simple. Josh Briggs just comes off as a fake tough guy. He looks like he rescues kittens on the weekend and places them in safe and nurturing homes. He doesn't look like he's in a biker gang. And I feel like they gave him this gimmick just because he's tall and he's white, so he has to be a biker, but that it doesn't fit him whatsoever. That's why he's getting go away heat. So anyway, what's his name? Josh Briggs wins the match with a big boop. Nobody cares. Nobody will remember this match happened. Tomorrow, everybody forgot that it had happened 5 minutes after it did. Backstage, Hank and Tank is talking to Chase U, and they're talking about winning the tag team championships when they're interrupted by the Coling, which I can only assume is a sex cult of some sort. And this sets up a triple threat match to determine the number one contender for the tag titles, but I would really prefer they just keep it on the Hardy Boys. Next up, we had a luchador, Dr. Wagner, come to the ring. Now, okay, imagine if there was a genre of wrestling where everybody wrestled in a Pooh Shiesty mask, and by the seventh person in a Pooh Shiesty mask that you couldn't tell who it was, you would lose all interest in the concept of it because we can't tell you apart and you can't speak English. So what are we doing? What are we supposed to do? It's all the same. It's the same guy over and over and over and over again. Dr. Wagner defeats Lexis King in a boring match. I guess they don't care for Lexis King. I like Lexis King. I don't understand why he's jobbing to luchadors. Up next, we get a JC Jane and Fatal Influence package. I think it's time to give JC Jane her flowers for carrying NXT on her back over the course of this year. Again, I'd like to point out that NXT is the only show in wrestling that has not lost hundreds of thousands of viewers as the year has progressed. They've stayed right around 600. Sometimes they reach 700. And JC Jane is all over this show. She wrestles all the time. She cuts promos. She has carried NXT and she's carried wrestling in 2025. She's my queen, quite frankly. I do miss Jasmine Nix. I wish they would have retained her. I don't care for Lonnie Reed. She looks greasy. I don't think she fits this group at all. I personally would rather them just disband the group and just let JC Jane go on her own, but here we are. Yeah, JC Jane is a star. JC Jane will be main eventing WrestleMania in the next few years, probably with Sol Ruka. You heard it here first. Oh yeah, I missed it. After the Dr. Wagner luchador match, he cuts a broken English promo and calls out Ethan Page. Ethan Page comes out Ego. No, 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 with a small ego. And they set up a match for a Halloween Havoc. Dr. Wagner then cuts a Spanish promo that nobody can understand. And Ethan Page says that nobody could understand what he said. And he's right about that. Why? What is this company's obsession with having people cut promos in languages that are English? It's pointless. We can't understand what the person is saying. What is the point of cutting a promo and people can't understand you? Think about that for a second. What is the point of cutting a promo in a language where the audience can't understand you? What are we supposed to think? What emotion are we supposed to have other than being annoyed that we can't understand what the person is saying? Stop. And this is going to be a day of the death match. So basically a no disqualification match. And Page deserves way better than this. He should be on the main roster. Next, we get a backstage segment with Sol Ruka and Zarya. Sol Ruka says that she won't be able to accompany Zarya out for her match tonight because she has to get ready for the Battle Royal. And Zarya is upset about this. And at first I was like, well, Zarya should be worried about her own career. But then it's like, well, why can't Sol Ruka just come out to support Zarya? All she has to do is stand there. It's not like has to wrestle in a tag match or anything or be on commentary or referee the match. She literally just has to stand there. Like, what's the big deal? And then she does eventually come out anyway. So what? But furthermore, why doesn't Zarya just sign up for the Battle Royal? There will be about 15 jobbers that nobody's ever heard of in this Battle Royal. So it's not like it was exclusive. It seemed like all you had to do was ask Ava to get in. So why doesn't Zarya just sign herself up? She should take some initiative in her own life and her own career. Anyway, Ava is backstage with Santino, and they set up a match between Stax and Leon Slater for the X Division Championship. And it's at this point that I realized, holy shit, I have like 6 pages of notes. And when I covered Raw yesterday, I had a half a page. Like, so much happens in NXT that it is actually quite exhausting covering this. But I do it for the love of the game. We love wrestling in the Crimson Wrestling Game Federation, and we're going to do it until the wheels fall off, which will be very soon. Up next, we have Blake Monroe versus Zarya. Blake Monroe enters. Oh, oh, oh. I think Blake Monroe is a star. And as somebody that has to watch AEW now for this channel, I wish he had stayed in AEW because their women's division is pathetic. Here in NXT, there's so many other women, good women wrestlers, that she kind of gets overshadowed, but I can see what they're doing with her. I like the direction that they're taking. Anyway, she beat Zarya because she takes out like a pick that was in her hair and stabs Zarya in the neck. So attempted murder, at least assault and battery at the very least, but anything to get a win versus Zarya for Blake Monroe. I guess she's like a psychotic cosmopolitan chick. An interesting take on Sex in the City. I'll give you that. Up next, Ava announces the men's speed tournament, and the matches will be 5 minutes long. I think all of the matches should be 5 minutes long. Why are there 15, 20-minute matches? When wrestling was getting 7, 8 million viewers, there was never a 15, 20-minute match unless it was the main event and it was like the title was on the line. Everything else was 5 to 8 minutes. So yes, bring back the speed championship. All of the matches should be for the speed title. Next, we have Hank and Tank taking on Chase U and the Coling in a triple threat match for the #1 contender spot. And about 5 minutes into the match, some team named OTM interferes. Oh, it's a disqualification. I'm kind of happy about this because I didn't want to watch another triple threat tag team match, and I didn't want to watch Chase U. So I don't know where they're going with this. I assume that we'll do a fatal 4-way or something. But again, just keep the titles on the Hardys. Let the Hardys retire with the tag team championships. I don't know what else direction you could go in that makes any sense. Up next, Ruka gives up her spot in the Battle Royal to Zarya. And at this point, I'm just sick of these two. Both seem to care about the career of the other person more than their own career, which is fine. Like, I guess that's the story that they're telling. But they're supposed to be wanting to be the best wrestler of all time. Like, everybody, in theory, every wrestler should be trying to be the next Hulk Hogan. So why are you concerned about your friend who didn't put herself in the battle royal? She could have just signed up. Like, why continue to enable her? She's codependent on you. We then get Ricky Saints, who's looking for Trick Williams. Says he's going to stand up to that smug son of a bitch named Trick Williams. Ava says that there will be a contract signing next week for the NXT Championship. Ava loves contract signings. So I guess Trick Williams does want that match at Halloween Havoc, even though earlier in the night he said that he would fight him on his own time. In the main event, we got the Women's Battle Royal. Jordan Grace comes out first, and her theme song has really grown on me in the last few weeks. I think it does actually fit her character. And to be fair, Jordan Grace has grown on me in the last few weeks. I think she's a good wrestler. I think she's finding her own footing in NXT. It did take a while. I think the feud with Blake Monroe was terrible because why were they feuding? They had just joined the company together. There was no real history between the two of them. Why would they fight each other? And Grace is followed by Lash Legend, who I think should be on the main roster yesterday. Lash Legend is great. Legend is followed out by the Angel Warriors, who I have no idea who these people are. And at this point, I was like, well, is everybody going to get an entrance? Because they're giving jobbers entrance. And then sure enough, Alicia Fox popped up. Victoria Crawford. I couldn't believe my eyes. Now, again, this is another person that was wrestling in 2010 and has been in the industry and has seen a loss of millions of viewers. She should retire. Maybe she's not good at wrestling. Anyway, there's a spot in the match. Last Legend is dominating, and they do the spot when all of the wrestlers gang up on the big person. So the Big Show used to do this, or Nia Jax. But this time, they actually picked up Lash Legend and threw her over the top rope instead of just like trying to push her over the ropes, which I thought was pretty impressive. Again, Last Legend, a star, and she can play the Nia Jax, Big Show, big giant role. I think even better than somebody like Raquel Rodriguez, although they could put them together and see what happens. We also had Kalani Jordan do the Kofi Kingston spot when she's eliminated, but she is walking on her hands, and then she pulls herself back into the ring with her feet, which was pretty impressive. And then Jordan Grace kicked her down, which was hilarious. Kalani Jordan, look, am I going to sit here and say Kalani Jordan is a star? No, I'm not. But she has impressed me the last few weeks. I still think her finisher is stupid. It's the dumbest finisher in the industry, where she does like a split, where she does a stunner and then she turns it into a split. It doesn't make any sense. She's just a gymnast girl. It's like she's just Bianca Belair, basically. But um, she's one of those people that I think should just remain in NXT. Or if she is called up, she should be a jobber or mid Carter. But the spot today was pretty cool. And then it got dumb because Blake Monroe comes out and she attacks Sol Ruka, who was standing on the outside supporting Zarya. So is Sol Ruka bipolar or something? Because at first she's like, I can't support you, Zarya, in your match. I have to get ready for my match. Then she does support Zarya in the match. She goes out there. And then she gives up her spot in the Battle Royal to Zarya. And then she goes out to support Zarya in the Battle Royal. Anyway, Blake Monroe then comes out to attack Sol Ruka. And then Zarya eliminates herself. But this is stupid because Zarya could have just slid under the bottom rope to go fight off Blake Monroe. She didn't have to literally jump all over the top rope to eliminate herself. Like, that was extremely dramatic and uncalled for. And it was at this point I was like, okay, can these two just fuck off? Like, I'm sick of Zarya and Sol Ruka and this bipolar lesbian angle that they're doing here. Just stop, please. Just break them up. Sol Ruka deserves better. Zarya could be released, and that would be okay. Anyway, the last four is Kendall Gray from Evolve on Tubi, who reminds me of the mom from George Lopez. We have Jordan Grace, we had Izzy Dane, and we had Tatum Paxley. Those were our final four. And the match ends when Izzy Dane eliminates herself and Jordan Grace, as Tatum Paxley was hanging on to the bottom rope. So Tatum Paxley wins. And we're going to get Tatum Paxley versus JC Jane. I've prayed for this. I sat down with God 3 months ago and I asked for Tatum Paxley and JC Jane. And we're going to get it. So I'm a blessed man. And then Lyra Valkyria came out to celebrate with Tatum Paxley because Lyra's gimmick is befriending all of the crazy people in this company. So then I expect her to befriend Soruka and Zarya in the coming weeks. So that was NXT. I thought it was a good, enjoyable show. And just there's so much that happens here. You kind of have to keep notes. Like there's no way I could remember all of the segments and all of the matches and all of the interactions. Whereas with Raw, you probably could. You probably could just freestyle a review of Raw. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Dynamite. I'm not looking forward to watching Dynamite. I'll be honest with you. I think it's the worst show in wrestling. It's up there with SmackDown as one of the worst shows, but I'll go into it with an open mind, be optimistic, and I'll give it a chance and we'll see what happens. So I promise I'll be better, and you guys stay safe and be blessed.
For more of the Crimson Brothers, follow the Crimson Wrestling Federation today. I'm commentator Havoc, the voice of the Crimson Wrestling Federation. And you can see the calls I've made in the Crimson Wrestling Federation, in the comic Crimson Wrestling Game, Story of Malice, in the description below. For more of the Crimson Brothers, follow the Crimson Wrestling Federation today. I'm commentator Havoc, the voice of the Crimson Wrestling Federation. And you can see the calls I've made in the Crimson Wrestling Federation, in the comic Crimson Wrestling Game, Story of Malice, in the description below.